Hey, Lisa.
Hey, John.
Uh, this place is a pigsty. We need to do something about it.
Okay.
What if all you needed to get better in every way was available at the touch of a hand, or the sound of a voice, or even a vibration? Let's talk about how that happens, who can do it, and where to find them. I'm John Webster, and this is the Hesitant Healer.
Greetings and welcome to yet another edition of the Hesitant Healer. I am John Webster, and I'm here with Lisa K, my trusty sidekick. Say hi, Lisa.
How's everybody doing?
This is episode 2 of us trying to record a podcast with video. So I'm looking at myself with these halos in my eyes, and it's already driving me crazy. And Lisa is catty corner to me over there. And here, watch this. Over there. And so here we go. That's the schematics of what we got going on. Right. So in this, you get to see me do cool things like drink
the new poppy soda.
My very first Poppy. No, I am not endorsed by them. But if anybody from Poppy's watching, I would totally endorse this. Because first time I've drank it, had some, participated in drinking, and I kind of like it. And it's got pure cane sugar, Lisa. It's not that nasty corn syrup.
It's not the nasty.
All the pundits talk about.
It's actually, I took a little sip of it. It's pretty good. It's not bad.
It's not bad. Would you do me a favor?
Yes.
And close that door and lock that other door, because safety first.
The door is locked.
And we don't want ruffians coming into this establishment.
There aren't a lot of ruffians
and messing up our vibe, if you know what I mean.
That's right. Okay.
All right.
Can you see me?
Can you see me now?
Yeah.
So we were discussing, dear listeners, what we want to talk about. And we decided on a topic that is near and dear to our hearts because we have just recently done this. Lise, have you ever heard of Swedish Death Cleaning?
I have, actually. I have.
What do you know about Swedish Death Cleaning?
Well, a very nice lady named Linnéa Gustafsson. That sounds like a...
I'm gonna give you points for that.
Thank you. Wrote a book, and the book is, ready?
Yeah.
Swedish Death Cleaning, How to Free Yourself from a Lifetime of Stuff by Linnéa Gustafsson.
Listen, if there's anybody that knows about a lifetime of stuff, it's you and me, for sure. And my sister and my brothers. Yeah. Shout out to my sister and Simon, wake up. And by the way, when we're recording this, it'll probably be a long time after the fact, but when we're recording that it is the day after the U.S. women's hockey team beat the Canadian women's hockey team for the gold medal. And so, in your face, Lisa, in your face, Canadians are number 2, which is the first loser. So you are kind of first.
You know, they got silver.
They did get silver.
Listen,
they played a game.
That was a really good game. It was such a good game.
And it's gone either way, and they held that for all three periods until they didn't hold it. But
that's right.
Yeah. And we're not all that. I mean, we used to dominate stuff in Olympics, and we're not all that.
No.
Anyway, back to Swedish Death Cleaning.
Yes.
Tell me about Swedish Death Cleaning. What do you know?
So it's paring down stuff so you can enhance your life now.
All right. Tell me more.
So
what's the purpose of it? Are there like 7 different purposes?
There are.
That you need to learn about for Swedish Death Cleaning?
Yes, there are.
Tell us what they are.
All right. So keep what supports your next chapter. So take a big breath, and wherever you're at, she's kind of talking about retirement, but it could be anything. It could be like, from this day on, I'm going to start a new chapter.
Well, I'll give you 2 examples. Number 1 would be my parents' house, because my mother was a hoarder, and when they passed, it took 6 months to clear the house. However, not that I have any of my mother and me in this room here, and we might take our little camera and show you around this room what I'm talking about. Recently, we'll go into this a little bit later in the podcast, but recently, as I sit here and look around the room an hour at a time for 4 or 5 or 6 a day, I've found myself saying,
too much stuff.
what am I going to do with all this stuff? And then I'm like, how did I get all this stuff? Oh my God, I'm like my mother. And then I'm like, wait, I've been doing this for 20 years.
Right.
This is 20 years worth of stuff.
Right.
There's trinkets and there's presents and there's art and there's books, so many books. And when you apply the principles that you're about to tell us, when's the last time I looked at that book? I find myself saying. So we what, a month ago?
Yeah.
Woke up and decided we're going to do some Swedish death cleaning. And we cleaned out some stuff and we threw good stuff away. And it hurts my heart to my very soul, my core to throw stuff away. You just got to close your eyes and perch through it.
I think that is the key to the whole thing.
Like a brand new coffee maker, we threw it away.
Yeah.
And electronics, we threw them away. And stuff we haven't used, we threw them away.
Right.
And I can't throw the books away, but I'm giving books away. Mm-hmm. If anybody out there watching or listening to this is interested in books, mostly they are books on healing. There are books on types of healing. There are books on energy work. There are books on psychology. There are books on religion. Mm-hmm. I have a lot. If you're interested in books and you need any of those, hit me up. Hit your boy up, because I'm getting rid of books. I can't throw them away, but they're going to go somewhere somehow pretty soon.
Right.
All right. Number 2.
Okay. So here's what she says. Keep what supports your next chapter and let go of what doesn't. Make space physically and emotionally for what you most want.
Emotionally. I like that.
Right.
Sometimes, Lisa, you may not know this, but some of the things we hold in our houses have some emotional ties to them.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. Definitely.
And I can't let that go because it was great Grandma Gertrude's.
Right.
I didn't have a great Grandma Gertrude, but
there's a suggestion down in farther down later number. Yes, that about that very thing.
So I should quit interrupting you and let you talk.
Yes. Okay. So it says, now here's a big one, and this is we hinted at this. Declutter now. Likely your heirs don't want to do it.
We're going to come back to that because that's a thing.
Right? Okay. But I have to tell you what Beth from Washington said.
Tell me what Beth from Washington said.
Having now cleaned out 5 family members' houses, oh my goodness, I can attest to this. Do you hate your children? Do you hate your relatives? Do you hate the executor of your will? If you do, by all means, leave them a giant pile of junk. If you don't hate them, please don't. Really, really good point, right? One lady said she was delighted by the thoughtfulness of her mother who went through her own things. Well, she still could.
I want to be that parent.
Right? She said, one of the nicest gifts my mother ever gave me was to clean out her attic and declutter her house and then she passed away like 6 years later. So, and then she kept the important things, few things, and left a little note. This, I kept this because, it reminded me of you, or Grandma gave it to me years ago. She only kept a few things, and she left a note as to why she.
You know what I've been fantasizing about lately and wanting to do is, like in my artwork and throughout my house, writing little notes for my kids all over the fucking house, so that and I would hope they do, they go through shit. They start finding all these cool little notes. How fun would that be?
Very sweet.
Because my mom just left pictures and junk.
So, number 3.
It still got PTSD attached to it, right?
It really does. Honestly, I have to, there's a, like an antique kind of store in town. And it has booths like they do, right? Like,
yeah. I was just there last weekend. Okay.
Yes. So I went into one of those maybe 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago. I was just kind of looking for something. And I went in and I was walking around and I totally had a PTSD kind of moment. It was like it got hard to breathe and it felt like the walls were closing in.
The saddest part about that is, even though the junk mirrors what our house was like, it's still more organized than what our house was like.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But there's just as much stuff.
Oh.
If you could have filled that building, and it's 3 stories, basement, middle, and top, with stuff, we could have filled that up easily.
All right. So here's one. Clutter is dangerous as you age.
What?
Right? Clutter can be dangerous because tripping is a leading cause of fatal and non-fatal injuries among older adults. So we have
You know what? I could attest to that because both of them fell at least once in that house and hurt themselves.
right. All right. Here's another good one. Ready? Too much stuff can cause stress. There's significant research that connects clutter with stress.
Not true. Can't be true.
In one study, people were asked to describe their homes. The respondents who talked about clutter in their houses had a higher level of the stress hormone cortisol and reported worse moods than those who lived in more streamlined residences.
Damn it.
Here's another good one. Clutter blocks sleep. Studies have found that people who sleep in a cluttered room have a harder time falling asleep and are more likely to awaken in the middle of the night.
Maybe that's what your problem is.
Thank you.
Is your room clean?
No,
Do you stay up at night?
sometimes.
Okay. Could be true then.
Could be.
You know what I love about what we're doing right now?
It's like talking to ourselves.
No. On the podcast, when we did the podcast before, people couldn't see your facial expressions.
Okay. Storing stuff is expensive. Here's another new
That shit gets real expensive.
Actually, I have a storage spot in Northern California that I've paid for a very long
What's in it? What's in it?
some of the kids' stuff, like yearbooks and
Stuff that they don't want, but you want them to have? Okay, go ahead.
I mean, there's things that weren't like my mom had made some cross-stitch stuff. That's important. I would like to keep that. There's just
Well, it's a good thing it's in a safe place in Northern California then.
okay.
Because, it's got emotions to it.
Ready? Here's a good one. Funny you should say that.
Do you see her checking her face now, people? You see her checking her face?
Getting rid of stuff can make you happier. Research suggests that paring down, possessions can help you focus on what's more important in your life. And it turns out that decluttering is scientifically proven to help you focus. Stuff doesn't make you happy. Relationships and activities do.
I'll buy that.
That's
All right.
good. Okay.
Where are we at? Number 5?
That was number 6.
Okay, last one.
Okay. There's tips to declutter, but here's a really, really, really good tip. Get rid of stuff, stop buying things. Here's the best one. Take photos of the things you want to remember. So it's understandable you want to remember things. Photographing your objects enables you to retain a memory in a tangible way without the clutter of the actual thing.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Sure.
I think I know what's going to happen in this podcast 2.0 is that we're going to go over stuff that we talked about in 1.0, but I read a thing a while ago that talked about how the photos that we take today
Are
in
different.
50 years,
Mm-hmm.
you might not be able to get to them. I'll give you, for example, if you have a video disc, where are you going to play that thing right now?
Yeah.
Right? So the reason we can see what things looked like 100 years ago is because we have photographic evidence in a hard copy.
Correct.
But the technology that's going on now does not allow us to be able to facilitate shit that you put on a floppy disk in the 80s. Right? So if you're going to take pictures, print that shit out.
That's probably a really good idea.
And put it somewhere where you can look at it 100 years from now, as opposed to digitally where nobody's going to be able to read it. Right? That makes sense.
So really the point is that we attach a memory or an emotion to a thing. And, we can remember that.
Yeah.
We can remember that thing, but we don't need to hang on to that thing.
No. So what started this for me back in the day was I had a girlfriend, not girlfriend. She was a friend who was a girl, but we used to hang out and do stuff together. She was like the buddy. And sometimes a benefity friend. But at the time, she had a long-term boyfriend. This is early on in our relationship of knowing each other. We worked together and we got together good, or got along well. I hadn't seen her a bit. We kept track every once in a while. She lived out in Orange County, and I heard that the boyfriend had died of cancer, and I guess they'd been together for 2 or 3 years. So I was in the town. I went out to visit her. She was in an apartment in Newport Beach. And I walk into the house and we're talking, and I start noticing there's just bags of stuff. And she kind of had a heavy feel to her. And she was talking about how he had died and he didn't have any heirs, family, or relatives. She had become it.
Oh my goodness.
And he had died almost a year prior.
Oh, wow.
So she's living in the apartment that they lived in. And
With all his stuff.
And it just had a heavy feel to it. And I'm like, this was his apartment? She goes, yeah. She goes, I got all this stuff. Let me show you. She walks me into a room and there's bags of clothing, cowboy boots,
Yeah.
stuff
Right.
in all these rooms. I'm like, oh, Julie, you know? She goes, oh, wait, there's more. I said, what do you mean there's more? She took me downstairs and she opened the garage and she did just like this. She opens the garage up. It's packed and she just goes,
Heavy.
you could feel it.
Oh.
I'm like, you gotta, they're like the chains of Bob Marley, right? And Jacob Marley. Bob Marley's chains are way different.
Well, that's a whole different.
Bob Marley's got chains with smoke.
Yeah.
Jacob Marley's chains walking around with him, right?
Right.
So I told her I would help her get rid of some of this stuff, right? I know some people are freaked out about what I'm about to say, but like he had some bitchin' cowboy boots, and I know those. I had snakeskin cowboy boots. I took them boots. I had 3 pairs of cowboy boots for a long time. Decided I hate cowboy boots. I don't like them. They sit up on a heel and they're too hard. And
They're hard to walk in.
but listen, them snakeskin cowboy boots were pretty bitchin'.
Yeah.
And I mean, dude had some money, so he had some really nice shoes. He had really nice clothes. He had some like woodworking equipment, a drill press, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it helped her organize a garage sale and stuff. And eventually she got rid of it. And it made such a difference for her. And so that really stuck. And so over the years, as I've come across people, I kind of help them with that because I'm kind of good at it. The juxtaposition of the other side of that is when they were alive, if you were to go to my mother's house, with a house full of stuff and a 3-bay motorhome garage that was 14 foot high. It was a big garage that had the middle bay stacked rafters that my father had built with layers of museum shit, right? And this one was leftover stuff from the 80s, and this stuff was stuff. When it was all said and done, they had his parents' stuff. They had my grandma's stuff. They had stuff from a lady at church who had died. They had stuff from the lady at church's son who had died. And they had stuff from a lady at church who was homeless. In addition to that, my mom liked to collect wayward souls. And one of them along the way had been a guy who, I guess he was homeless. She ended up moving him in there and he lived out on the property for a bit, and he was a mechanic and he tinkered with stuff. And when he left all his mechanic tinkery shit. So there was like car shop stuff littered around the outside of this thing. So all that to say, I know the difference between the two of hanging on to other people's stuff or being that person while you're alive of not wanting to let go of that stuff. I know what that was like. Right. And I've told the story a lot on here about how I have 3 siblings. We would all get together and go, we got to help mom get rid of this stuff. And 3 separate times, my mother got us together and said, okay, if you guys come out, I'm ready. I'm ready to go through this stuff. My brother would come from Arizona. My other brother would come from North Carolina. My sister would come from Canada. We, at their expense, they would all come down and we'd get there. And the night before, Mom would go, I'm not ready to get rid of this stuff. I just can't do it. It had nothing to do with getting rid of stuff. It had to do with manipulating us to come there and deal with it. So there's more to just the hanging on of the stuff.
Right.
Than just, there is emotional aspects to it, but part of the emotional aspects has to do with manipulation as well, right?
Well, it does. I think part of it too is when you are the person who is left with the stuff, at the very beginning, it feels disloyal to just get rid of it.
Well, in the first case that we talked about, the dude died and he didn't have any heirs. In the case of my mother, who grew up dirt poor Mexican on the south side of the tracks in Winslow, Arizona, and a lot of people in that Depression era tended to hang on to, because at the end of the war, rationing, all the things that were the mentality of growing through the 40s and 50s,
Sure.
and into the 60s as change happened and they were in their 30s and 40s, hanging on to that stuff became vitally important.
Sure.
And there was also a hope of, if I collect it, it's worth something.
Right.
And I want my children to have it, you know? In that time frame, we've moved several different times, and the criteria for IKEA became a big thing, you know?
Right.
The throwaway culture became a big thing.
Sure.
And even though I knew it, we experienced in spades when both parents died and we had to go through this. And Lisa Kay was part of that. My brothers and sister were part of that. My step-in-laws, my stepsisters, were all part of the cleaning of that house that took 6 months. 4 40-foot waste bins.
Can I just say they aren't your stepsisters? They're
What
sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law, sorry. Yes.
You don't have stepsisters unless there's some stepsisters running around that we don't know about.
And listen, that's why you're here. You're correct me. Here.
Your whole family's going, wait, are there more?
High five. 4 40-foot dumpsters. Plus, there was also a metal guy. There was also a wood guy. There was also a motorhome, 2 vehicles, 3 trailers, 27 tires. Not that I remember any of this stuff, but yeah, it was some time. At the end, there were 5 wooden desks that nobody wanted, and I broke those apart with sledgehammers and threw the wood away. So, you know, I mean, hoarding is not a great thing. So then you went through parents.
I did.
A mom and a dad. You didn't have nearly as much stuff, but there was still some stuff that you had to go through.
Yeah. You know what? My sister actually had took care of my mom in her later years. Mom had moved from like a house to kind of a care community, and then moved to my sister's. And so each time she moved, my sister pared stuff down. My sister's very good at this. She just pared things down until there was just a little left. So we did not have a funeral per se. We had a memorial, and we all went to Austin. It was very nice. My sister did a fabulous job. And she had saved a few things, and she put them all out. And she said, if anybody would like to take these to remember Grandma, these are the things that you can take. And I don't know how many, maybe, I don't know, 40 or so. Like there was some Yadro. My mom collected Yadro, and if you know what that is, it's a Spanish porcelain guy.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
If you don't know, it's worthless.
There was one little tiny piece. In fact, I looked at it today. I have it on my dresser. It's about, I don't know, 2-3 inches tall. And it's a little girl, and it's very old at this point, I'm sure. I can remember it says Sunday's Child on it. My mom was born on a Sunday. There's an old poem, Monday's child is full of grace. And anyway.
Monday's child has bad taste. Thursday's child likes to party. Friday's child, his name is Marty. And Saturday's child went wee all the way home. Something like that.
Something like that. So I had bought that for my mom when I was like 12 years old, and I gave it to her as a gift. And Ellen had saved it out. So I took that because that, to me, that had meaning. Now, looking ahead, in fact, this is what I thought last night. My kids are not going to care about that. So
I mean, it has a meaning for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So my sister did it right. She, I got a scarf that my mom wore, and I like.
You get the onesies or twosies.
Right. I didn't need, and she didn't want, none of us wanted all of the stuff, When
the rich uncle, my rich uncle, when my parents, long story, but when they split it up and hauled it out, and my mom turned into an absolute Lord of the Rings character when we got that stuff, basically what they said was take a couple things that you want because they're family heirlooms. And so the couple things that we wanted, we still have. The other stuff, you just get rid of it.
Right. Like when my dad died, my stepmother kept some of his stuff. She kept. We still have his trunk that he shipped all his stuff.
Where is that trunk now?
It's in John Webster's garage, right?
In my garage. Yeah. So you don't really have it at all, do you?
Well, no, but I'm getting one of my kids wants it, so I'm going to make sure that he gets it.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a few meaningful things. I remember this is another memory I had last night. As a matter of fact, when I got divorced, we had been married for 26 and a half years. So you accumulate junk. You just have stuff, right? 3 big trash things full of stuff that I was ruthless. I just threw stuff away.
But I think it's important to go through it at least.
Oh no, we went through it. But
I mean, you don't just throw. Like I came upon a Instagram site where a girl is by herself going through her dad's 30 years of hoarder house that she grew up in.
oh my god,
There were cats and there's dead animals and feces and urine and it's a TV show hoarder house.
that is
Even though my mom's house was bad, they didn't have the pets like that. It wasn't stinky, but there was that much stuff. And so there's differences. There's degrees of hoarding, but still hoarding is hoarding. But even though we hated doing it, we had to go through every single paper all the way back to the 70s
because some of it was
because there was some gold in there.
right.
Let me tell you a good story. And I'm gonna tell it wrong, so I'm telling Karen right now. I know I'm gonna botch this up, but my sister-in-law went through the same thing with her mom, and she had a brother who was nefarious and left the wife and the kid to go with the younger little thing, and so
Like they do.
the sister-in-law or ex-sister-in-law or whatever. When I think it was her folks died or dad died, she had to go through the house, and it was a hoarding house. And in the hoarding house, holding up a table was an entire bar of silver. And then they found a key that looked like a safety deposit key, and through some research found a safety deposit box.
Oh my goodness.
And there were a good number of gold Krugerrands in the. And because he divorced her, she got all that shit and he got nothing, and it was a lot of money. So there's good hoarder stories too.
Well, there are.
Let me tell you, ours was not one of them. And all the stuff that my mother said was going to make us a lot of money, we made a few thousand in the estate sale because pennies on the dollar there. All the things that we kept that we thought were worth money, books, made $1,000-$1,200 there, and there were books that went back 100 years or so. And just so you know, just because it's old does not mean it's expensive or worth anything.
Well, there's value and there's worth.
Yeah, and you got to pair up the right person with the person who thinks it's.
Right.
As of this recording yesterday, I saw Jake. Who's the guy that fought Mike Tyson? Jake Paul? Jake Paul, whose girlfriend just won an Olympic gold medal. Look her up. She's hot.
Yeah.
From the Netherlands. But his brother just sold a Pokemon card.
Oh, for
$63 million. A fucking Pokemon card. Right? My mom, we found the first 7,
Batman, right?
9 Star Wars comics.
Oh, that's right. They were Star Wars.
Tucked in a drawer, not in good condition, with the word Webster written on the front in marker. And when I shopped them around, they all went, yeah, no. And number 1, these are not originals. These are second edition. And number 2, yeah, your name's on them. So look at moms, boys who like baseball cards.
Right.
Put them in plastic and don't let them play with them if you think they're going to be worth something. Otherwise, leave it alone.
No.
And you got to pair a collector with a collector. You
Right.
just got to pair a collector with a collector.
Right.
And so here we are 5 years later, just about everything. Because I've pared down, and I'll look at something and go, no, man, that's going to be worth something. And then a year later, I'm going to go revisit it. And it's like,
It's really not.
it's not. But I've gradually gotten rid of, I'm going to say 99.9% of the stuff.
Right.
And it was not worth anything. On top of that, family heirlooms used to be a thing.
Not anymore.
The kids don't care about that shit. They want their own stuff, and they're not attached to it like that.
No.
And the family unit just doesn't hold together like it was. Although there are some great families out there, but it's just stuff. It's different stuff, and the worth of things, furniture included, the worth of things just ain't what it used to be.
It's not.
So
It's not. So it's a lot of work. I love what she said. Do you hate your kids? Do you hate the executor?
Keep it and let them have it.
Right. Exactly. And if not, the kinds, I think the whole point of that lady's book of the nice Swedish lady is, it is kinder to take care of that yourself than to make somebody else.
Agree. Lisa's dad, who passed in November, and her mom passed almost 10 years ago. He was a pretty simple guy. He didn't have a ton of stuff.
Right. He did have something.
But he had some things. But let me tell you, it was like the 70s threw up in the house and was still there.
Yeah.
And the primary art on the walls were...
This I can't even listen to you say it again because
there were 8 red skeleton clown pictures on the walls. And he was a puzzle guy. He liked to make puzzles. He had a whole puzzle setup in his bedroom. 2 or 3 of those puzzles had been framed, and all they were really cool. Ain't nobody wants a picture of a puzzle, right?
No.
Or the China sets. Nobody pulls China sets anymore, So all these things you find in Grandma's hutch, although they're great for nostalgia, right? The China that we grew up on that was always in the hutch, that was a
like we used it for special occasions.
Brown branch and apple painting kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We found a collector who wanted it, but they weren't paying top dollar for it. We only sold it for, a little bit or what.
I have to say, just as an aside, antique stuff that you're trying to sell goes in waves, okay? And when your parents died, we were in the middle of COVID, and they were not the only people who had died. And so there was a plethora.
Oh, that's a good point, Lisa.
There was a plethora of antiques and the special plates and everybody had that, and there were several antique places that we had called, and they're like, yeah, we don't have any more room for it.
So if you die, you want to die in a down cycle.
You want to die.
You want to die when nobody else is doing it.
I'm just saying, that's just a part of it.
So, and we went through stuff, and, same thing. The heirlooms were kept. The things that were still good and in packages were kept. But we have to evaluate our own stuff, too. Do we really want that, or do we just need to get rid of it? And it's as painful as it is to throw stuff away. We still haul a whole U-Haul full of shit to the dump, literally to the dump.
Right.
And threw furniture and pictures and stuff away. My sister, who lives in Canada, because it was COVID at the time, she got stuck in Canada for 8 months, and she couldn't come for the sickness and the funeral and all the stuff that went after. It was horrible. And when she came in 8 months, the one thing we did do, because she's the keeper of the story, we kept all the pictures. None of the pictures got thrown away. And there were volumes of picture books and that kind of stuff. And for a week, we'd get up every morning, make her coffee, and sit with 2 giant trash cans in the middle of the room and just lay pictures out. And she put the family history together.
Oh, wow.
And laid all that out for nostalgia, because there's multiples of multiples.
Sure.
But you took the picture of Uncle RH and Uncle Ernie and Mom when she was a kid and me when I was a baby, and all of that got cataloged and put away. But trash cans on trash cans of pictures, like an entire giant trash can that goes out on the side of the street, was filled with nothing but photographs. And they had 5 or 7 full picture books of like vacations they'd taken, stuff I didn't even know about because I was gone or in the army or whatnot. I didn't even know they went to Israel or, Dad went to Africa, which was his dream trip.
Mhm.
None of that stuff meant anything to me, right? And although they were neat trip pictures, they weren't my trip pictures, you
Right.
know? I have an uncle, my dad's oldest brother, Uncle Jimmy, who was an agriculture engineer, and he took his kids, all 5 of my cousins, and his wife, Aunt Marlene, to Africa. I want to say Zimbabwe, in the late 60s.
Oh, wow.
For 3 to 5 years, something like that, I want to say.
Wow.
And so there's some family stories that go where he helped build waterways and that kind of stuff to get agricultural engineering and for cities and whatnot.
That's pretty
So 2 big stories that came out of there. One of them was on one safari, they were charged by a bull elephant and they had to put the elephant down.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Really terrifying. But that was one of those big family stories we talked about for years. And he had pictures of that elephant and stuff that I remember seeing, right?
Right.
But for years, my dad we had a head bust statue made out of a really hard wood, very dark hard wood of an African face that pretty much was a doorstop for years. I mean, but we had that thing for years and years and years. And it's one of those, it's from that trip. And it's one of those things, Lisa, that was always in my house as long as I could remember. And when that thing went away during the house sale, the estate sale, it was like, do I want to keep this? Right? My wife was like, no, you don't. But I'm like, but that was like, it's leaving.
Right.
But there were 5 carved wooden animals. One was a hippo, one was an alligator, one was a blah, blah, blah. I don't remember what they were. That I grabbed because I'm like, the grandkids might want this, right? And it's been sitting in a room. Just a couple months ago, I gave that to my son-in-law and said, do you think the kids would want this? He goes, this is cool. I'm like, hey, it's family history, right? It's one of those things where I want it to stay in the family. If you think it's usable, then keep it. If not, I'm going to check with the other kids and see if they want it. But, I'm trying at least to give something that they want, right?
Right. But they don't, I think that, and I'm looking at like your mom and dad were about the same age as my mom and dad. And that was that whole Depression and
era. Yeah.
Era. And I have a memory of like my dad said that, it must have been World War II.
There's Korea too was in there.
Actually, it might.
Korea's 50s.
Yeah. So his mom would make donuts, and they were in a town. There were towns in Kansas where the train would stop, right? Made certain stops. And his mom would make donuts, and he and my uncle would go and take these donuts because the troops were moving.
Oh.
They were taking them to California to ship out or whatever. And so that's like a memory. And he had
that might have been World War II.
Yeah, I think it was.
That might have been World War II.
But there was a whole fear of lack or a fear of not having enough.
There was always also a camaraderie of community.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. My dad and my mom both lived in a town where there were aunts and, cousins and that kind of thing, right?
Well, speaking of trains, it's a little bit of a different, but same type of era is Grandma Molly, south side of the tracks, Winslow, Arizona. We grew up with the stories of the hobos who rode the rails.
Right.
In certain towns, would leave marks in chalk on different posts where the good people lived and they could get a meal. And Grandma Molly was one of those places.
Yeah.
And they would always come around and she would always have some kind of food for them and hook them up. And my mom distinctly remembers that growing up.
My mom has stories like that too.
That whole different, you live near train tracks, there's a whole different kind of vibe to that. So,
right.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
I think part of the reason that they hung on to things was they knew what it was like to not have any.
To not have. Right. And this,
my mom,
we don't live in that era. Right?
We don't. And my mom had a similar story to your mom. My mom lost her dad when she was 10. Yeah.
My mom too.
Yeah.
Oh, see how we come full circle?
Yeah. So there was always that, what if there's not enough, and how are we going to get to the next day, and all of those things. And I think that once you go through that situation, you get a real, like, I need to hold on to this because I don't know if I'm ever going to get it again.
Well, that and your dad was a gambler.
Well, yes, my father was a gambler. My father was,
Fortunately, you or I did not inherit that gene.
thank God.
We have a secret that we're not going to talk about.
Anyway, it was a different time. I think that the collecting things had a mentality to it. I don't think that we have that mentality anymore. But there are certain things, like I said, when my mom passed, that I just wanted to hold on to, and I know that my kids won't want it. So I'm going to let them decide what to do with it. But I have been purging some things. Here's another. I'll be real true about this.
I'm high-fiving. That's what I'm doing.
Okay,
right
high
now.
five.
Okay.
I recently lost some weight. Right.
Yay for Lisa!
Thank you.
You're so skinny now.
Thanks. It was really difficult, ladies. I know some of you will understand this. It was really difficult for me to throw away my bigger clothes.
Oh, that's a big deal. That was the other thing I was going to talk about is Swedish death purging your closet.
Which, yes.
For some time, I have had a certain amount of clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have fat pants or whatnot, but like I have 2 or 3 things that I'm never going to throw away, like my Letterman's jacket, my chef's jacket, and my army jacket. Those are tucked away in my closet. I'm keeping those.
Right.
But I have X amount of shirts, and truth be told, I color code them in my closet, so they're all Reggie Bibb. And I have gotten to, if I buy a new t-shirt, I get rid of a t-shirt.
That is an awesome, awesome plan.
And although it's very, very hard, as my wife buys me t-shirts when she goes places, she buys me really cool t-shirts that she thinks I like. But I have a thing.
They have to feel right.
They have to feel right. And if I got tag on my back, that tag comes off and I rip a lot of shirts that way.
Yeah.
If I don't like the way it feels, I will throw it away. For years now, we come to the Redlands bike race, and they have great Redlands bike race t-shirts with the logos on them.
Right.
And I want to represent Redlands, and every single one of the shirts that I've bought either shrinks, or it's bad cotton, or it feels funny. I haven't kept any of them because I don't like the way they feel.
That's too bad.
And so I purge out a lot, and then I go through style reconstructions,
Sure. This just doesn't fit who I am anymore.
I got all those really cool pants from Psycho Bunny, which were really super comfortable, and then lost the weight, and now they're just not super comfortable.
Right.
You
That was really difficult, though, to throw away the pants, because a little bit of
what if you gain weight again?
What if I gain the weight back? Right. So here's what it was. Dear listeners, I kept one pair.
Yeah, we totally do that. It's way in the corner,
way in the corner, that just in case, it's there.
Or in case you want to make a scarecrow on Halloween.
Something. Right. Exactly. Right.
Sure.
So anyway, that's it.
So I guess what we want to say is throw your shit away.
I
go through. Hey, we talked about cleaning this office. The office is going to get cleaned more. But, one of the thought processes of how we kind of got to where we're at with this is that I'm sitting in this room 7-8 hours a day, is that should we ever move or should I ever close this place down? What am I going to do with all this shit, right? And I love my trinkets. I love my office. I love my stuff. You can see on Lisa's. I'm gonna turn. You can see all the different things just on that side of the room. Turning.
Yeah.
And that side of the room, I have art and books and stuff. And if I go all the way back thank you for bearing with me here. And go over here past my podcatty stuff. There's all the books I'm getting rid of, right? And I've already gotten rid of a shitload of books too. Now back to Lisa's pretty face here. There we go. So, listen, but we did feel a whole lot better when we got rid of all that stuff.
Yeah.
And little by little in my house, I'm getting rid of stuff, and I'm cleaning the garage out and getting rid of stuff because I got stuff in my garage. We got stuff from the dissection class we did in COVID, which was 6 years ago. And it's Julian's stuff. And Julian, if you're watching this, we threw shit away. Because nobody's coming back for it.
Well,
It just needed, you're hanging on to something you don't need.
Right.
And as much as I hate to say I'll buy more because I'm like a rich guy, that's not the case. It's just I want to feel better and I don't need the space.
Right.
And my wife and I, we ain't having kids and that house is getting too big. And it's like we want to pare down a little bit and we're getting really tired of stairs. So
stairs are
hard. Stairs are bad. You could die on stairs.
You could.
So Swedish Death Clean so you don't die on stairs.
Yes. And because you love your kids. Or
that's true. And they don't want your stuff.
They don't.
All right. We're meandering here.
Okay. All right. We're good.
So anything else you want to say before we get off?
I believe, and I know that this is going to air after this has happened, isn't the men's hockey this evening?
They're probably done right now.
Okay.
Or in the middle of it right now. So
go USA.
Go USA.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put together a dissection class in Colorado Springs in May. We had some people interested. Nobody has bought it yet. It's cheap as far as dissection classes go. It's $950 for 4 days. It's an amazing deal. And if we get it going, I will be there and I will be helping teach it. So if you're interested, hit us up on redlandsmassagetherapy.com or you can call us at 909-557-4415.
Good job.
And ask for Lisa K or me. And if you have questions or if you have topics or if you have a story you want to talk to about on our podcast,
let us know.
So, all right. Peace, kids.
See you soon.